In the recent Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, fans were introduced to an all-new iteration of the character. First appearing in the 1993 movie Dragon Ball Z Broly - The Legendary Super Saiyan, he was presented as the quote-unquote true Saiyan of legend with power unseen in over a millennium. And this movie resulted in actually multiple sequels, some of them good, some of them not so great, appearances in video games, and more as he quickly became a character almost, you could say, in the same kind of tier of popularity as Goku, Gohan, and Vegeta. He was never really canon until 2018's Dragon Ball Super Broly movie. This version had a new origin, new abilities, different abilities, which had helped cement him as maybe one of the coolest characters in Dragon Ball Super that we've got recently, and also at the same time made this movie arguably the best movie in recent memory for both Dragon Ball and definitely the best out of the whole Dragon Ball Super movies. Now that we have these two different iterations though, these two different versions of Broly, which one is kind of better? Which one would win in a fight? But most importantly, what are the differences between the two versions of the character, both with regards to their origins and their power set? And that's what we're going to get to in this video. So the original Broly was born in age 737, around the same time Goku was born. However, as babies, this is kind of funny, but as babies, Goku's long periods of crying caused psychological disruptions to the infant version of Broly. I say version, but infant Broly. And this was considered to be the beginning of kind of their grudge, and it was actually so deeply ingrained in his brain that at the first sight of Goku, it kind of all came back to him and he just got all riled up. And that's kind of basically, it's really dumb when you really think about it on paper, but that's literally why Broly hates Goku. And instead of exile in this version, King Vegeta sentenced both his father Paragus to death, or Broly's father Paragus to death, and also Broly to death. Someone tried killing Broly, didn't really work out. Thankfully, Broly's power level was extraordinarily high. It was around 10,000, which is ridiculous. That was like Bardock's power level. And they were able to escape the planet Vegeta's destruction at the hands of Frieza. Now, Broly in this version was somewhat unstable. Basically, he was maturing. Paragus had to end up using a control device to keep him under control. And this lasted until Broly's rage eventually kind of became untamable, unleashed, whatever you want to call it, and he ended up transforming into full-on legendary Super Saiyan form in the movie he was introduced in. Now, the version of Broly had 3 different forms, I guess you could say, of Super Saiyan, depending on his state of mind. When his father was controlling him, or I guess suppressing him, it would be more accurate. He had a blue to purple colored hairstyle for his Super Saiyan transformation, which was kind of interesting because initially upon turning to the form, it was weaker than the traditional Super Saiyan transformation, but his power could increase over time, which was an interesting kind of thing with it. So he may start weaker than the Super Saiyan traditionally would be in that form, but give it some time and his power will keep growing and he might even surpass the regular Super Saiyan transformation. Now the second form he has is more like the traditional Super Saiyan form, but without him losing complete control and without him bulking up so much. And this form is what he uses for a good amount of screen time on the Dragon Ball Z Broly Second Coming film. However, he eventually transforms from this form to his more berserker state, and that berserker state is probably his most infamous form, I would say. It's the one where he bulks up vastly, yet he doesn't slow down, he doesn't suffer from that extra increased mass, and he just kind of goes off on everybody. His power level on this form seems to skyrocket far beyond a Super Saiyan 2, yet it wasn't enough at that time to defeat Goku, Gohan, Goten, and Trunks together, but in this form also is when his hair adopts a slightly green tint, but also in the Second Coming film, eventually just lost the green tint and was more of a traditional coloring of Super Saiyan. Anyways, getting on to Broly in Dragon Ball Super, he was born instead around the same time as Goku, but around the same time as Vegeta, so around age 732. And Broly was sent away to the far planet of Vampa, instead of being sentenced to death by King Vegeta, who was jealous of Broly's power, yet again like in the original version compared to Prince Vegeta. And Paragus, instead of being sentenced basically to death, in this version voluntarily left the planet Vegeta in search of his son after finding out that he basically got sent away, and at the same time this kind of ended up saving both Paragus and Broly in some ways, because shortly after planet Vegeta was destroyed by Frieza. Frieza and his gang of people, the Frieza Force, found Broly, found Paragus on planet Vampa, and more or less took them in some way, shape, or form, making Broly a new recruit of the Frieza Force. Now, Broly and his father, upon being taken to Earth, end up fighting Goku and Vegeta. And in this version of the character, he is less mentally insane, I would say, for sure, and more so just simply manipulated by his father. Goku even notices this and helps Broly upon near the end of the film. Not going to really get into spoilers here. Broly's forms in this version are actually more unique than the original Broly in my opinion, because he has one form where instead of turning to a Super Saiyan, he transforms into something called the Wrath state or the Wrathful state, which is essentially the harnessing of Great Ape's power in a Saiyan's based form. And we actually have a video that we posted a few weeks ago about how this could lead to Super Saiyan 4 theoretically. I'm not going to get into it in this one. Go check out that video. Link should be in the end card. The drawback of this form is that the mental control it takes is very similar to a Great Ape form, so it's really easy for Broly to kind of lose control and get more or less lost in the sauce, you could say. When Broly does become Super Saiyan, he does so, at least in the movie, by essentially building off of the Wrathful state, and this has the green ore with it. And this form is strong enough to fight both a Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta at the same time. So it just kind of shows you how powerful Broly already is before he even gets pushed to his more so legendary Super Saiyan Berserker form, which in this universe is allowed to fight one-on-one with Gogeta Blue, even though he gets overpowered eventually, but still able to fight with him and not lose instantaneously. And the form was so powerful that it was shattering through dimensions, which is kind of, I guess, Dragon Ball's usual way of showing you how much power a character has. They say he might even be more powerful than a God of Destruction. Now, in the Dragon Ball Super universe, this isn't the first time we see this form technically. Kale uses the form from Universe 6, but even then they kind of referenced that Kale was basically more or less channeling some Broly. Basically, for those wondering who would win in a fight, the answer is Dragon Ball Super's version by a huge margin. But comment below your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think about all this stuff? Are you excited for this movie? Do you like the new version of Broly? Do you like the old version? Let us know down below, and I'll see you guys later.